chance very much over the years to meet up with somebody who was involved in Elvis's karate legacy. But today we're very lucky to have a man who met with Elvis, trained with Elvis, and has got quite a lot of great stories to tell you. And I tell you something, if you think, well, this guy was doing this back in 1974, he can't be any good now, well, I think you're in for a bit of a shock. I'd like you to welcome our special guest for this afternoon. Please put your hands together for Mr. Bill Wallace. There he is. Bill, great to see you. Take a seat, take the microphone.
Can you all hear me okay? Good, thank you.
Bill, I've heard you've had a very busy week so far.
I have. It rains in England a lot. I've been here, when I left Los Angeles, I used to live there. When I left West Palm Beach, Florida, last Wednesday, a week ago this last Wednesday, it was 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what, 32 degrees your temperatures? So all I have to say is, I am freezing over here. And you guys over here don't heat their gyms. They're just body temperature heats the gym, right? Well, I do the seminars on either an evening or a Saturday or a Sunday. So when I start doing the seminar, there's been nobody in there all day. So you walk in the gym and go, oh, and I'm seeing my breath in the air, and I'm going, how do you guys expect to work out this stuff? Slowly. I said, I can do slowly. So, but I've had a wonderful time. Absolutely gorgeous.
But of course, you've had not just a busy week, you've had a pretty busy life in this karate game.
I've had a good time, yeah.
I think a lot of these folks would like to know, we're going to go back to the time even before Elvis. We'll get on to Elvis, of course, but tell us a little bit how you started in this. What started your passion for this?
I was a wrestler in high school and college.
Wrestler?
Yeah, and I weighed, when I was a freshman in high school, which is like the 11th grade or 10th grade, I weighed up 89 pounds, which is 4 stone, or no, maybe 5 stone, something like that. So, you know, I was too little to play American basketball, too little to play American football, and I didn't like swimming that much. So I'm watching these guys wrestle around with each other, so I started just playing around with them, and you can wrestle somebody your own size. So I started wrestling and became pretty good at wrestling. And when I graduated high school, I joined the United States Air Force. And when I got to my permanent station, I went across to the gym to find out if they had a wrestling team or someplace I could work out. And I see a bunch of little guys out there. Now, understand this is 1963. And I see these guys in this gym on this mat throwing each other all over the place. Well, you know, I don't know anything about respect at the time. I don't know anything about the discipline that's involved in the martial arts. So I just walk in, step up on the mat, and go, excuse me. The guy that's wearing this black belt with a judo gi on says, yeah, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I just got permanently stationed here, and I wonder, is there a wrestling team or anything like that I could participate in? And he says, do you wrestle? And I said, yeah. I was a high school wrestler. I was pretty effective. He says, oh, I'll wrestle you. So he takes his judo top off, and we go out and wrestle, and I pinned him a couple times, you know, because I was decent. I was a leg wrestler, which is using the legs to tie people in the knots and different holds. If you ever watch MMA, there's a couple throws that they use with the legs and a couple, you know. So I use that a lot. And he said, that's pretty good, thank you. And I said, well, thank you, sir. And he says, now, do me a favor, put this little coat on, this little white coat. So I put the little white coat on. He says, now let's do it again. He threw me all over the place because wrestling, you know, I'm used to grabbing a hold of him. Well, just as I reached out to grab a hold of him, I started flying all over the place. Got my wings that way, I think. But, and I said, what is this stuff called? Because, you know, I'm from Indiana. I'd never heard of that before. So he said, it's called judo. So I started playing judo. And did that for a couple of years at that station at Wordsworth Air Force Base in Michigan. And then I got stationed in Okinawa. And I'm there playing around. And I learned a little bit of karate over there because anybody ever been in the military? Okay, well, in the United States, we basically have two choices. If you're in the military, you either find something to do to work out, train, or do something else, or we'll get drunk every night. And I don't drink, it doesn't taste good, I don't even like it. So I went and worked out and became fairly proficient in the karate aspect of it. Then came back to the United States, plus the judo, and hurt my knee when I was practicing in California. But there was a karate school in town, so I went to the karate school and kind of talked with them a little bit, and they let me, and I started training there again. That's where the kicking came from, the left leg with everything, because my right knee was torn up. They tore my right knee up, tore the medial collateral ligament. So that took care of that career, the judo part of it. And then I started doing the karate, working with the kicking techniques, and at that time I didn't know, because in Okinawa there was no competition. So I started fighting in a couple tournaments and became fairly proficient at that, won a couple national championships. So came back and went to college, finished my college, won a couple more championships in college, and then accepted, I don't know if you know what a graduate assistantship is or not, but I accepted a graduate assistantship in Memphis, Tennessee to do graduate work at Memphis State University. So I'm out there, and Connery, I don't know if you're very familiar with Connery. Connery hired me to teach his people how to fight, how to spar. And so I'm teaching there one evening. And at this time I was I think 3 years national champion. So I'm working out there, working with these guys, sparring with them, and all of a sudden out in the outer room, have anybody ever visited Connery School in Memphis on Poplar? Okay, well, okay. The outer little room, before you come into the dojang part, was a lot of commotion back there. So I said, what's going on out there? And all of a sudden, they open the door, and the Connery comes and says, "Drink!" In Korean means attention. So everybody comes to attention. He said, "Hey!" We bowed in, we bowed, and in walks Elvis with his, with the entourage. Because I heard the songs, I listened to the songs, but in the early '60s, they were all there, but you're not going to meet anybody like this, huh? So we meet each other, and he said, "Oh, I've seen you fight several times, and I just wanted to come down to meet you." So we met and talked a little bit, and very, very wonderful person, wonderful guy, and we talked a little bit more about that. So, and then he had to leave with everybody, so I went back to finish teaching. And I go home. I was married at the time, so I go home and I said, "You're not going to believe what I just did." And I said, "Well, I just met Elvis Presley." "Sure, yeah, right, go ahead, yeah, sure." And I said, "No, really, I did, yeah, go away, But that's how it all started.
Obviously you'd heard of Elvis, Bill, of course you had, but did you know about his interest in karate? Did you know? Because he started in the army in 59 and 60, he started learning, but he kind of brought some of the moves into those early 60s films.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
And nobody was doing that, but was you aware of his interest in the karate before?
Yeah, because, again, we've all seen all of Elvis's films, right? The one he did is with the one that happened at the World's Fair, the one that was in Seattle or something.
Right.
He has an argument with a guy that's throwing balls at remember the little dump over things? You hit the balls and knock over. And I remember the one time that the guy's throwing balls, and he's arguing, throwing the balls, and all of a sudden the guy throws the ball and he catches his arm and throws him. And I went, "Wow, that's neat." And then we realized, that he puts those moves into his films.
Yeah.
Which are effective, by the way.
I think the movie was Roustabout, which is
I thought
understandably to get confused, but I think that one, because in that movie he did some moves and the guy said, the actor said,
right,
"Hey, that's karate, we don't want to mess with you." And he said that in the film. Because Elvis was quite unique in that respect of bringing them so early in. This was before Bruce Lee brought it into the
I thought it was happening at the World's Fair, so.
Yeah, he probably did it in that as well.
Well, let's just fight about it.
Bill.
Let's talk this over.
Bill, you know what? Even if I knew I was right, I'm going to give in. I'm not going to argue with you today. No, but so take it from there. You met Elvis the first time there. Well, you know, take it.
And so I worked out, and he'd come over a couple more times and just to work out and so forth. And ironically enough, from what I understand from talking with Elvis, he never really trained at Congress. Priscilla did. Priscilla trained at Congress, and Ed Parker was Elvis's teacher. So he would bring Elvis, he would bring Ed Parker into Memphis, Tennessee, train with him a little bit, and then Ed Parker would go back to Los Angeles and then come back. But Priscilla made, I think she made green belt at her Congress. And then I graduated Memphis State with my graduate degree, went back to Indianapolis, because I'd been hired up there to teach school. And I'm sitting there one day getting ready to start class. And the guy comes down and says, Mr. Wallace, you have a telephone call. I said, oh, who is it? He says, some guy named Red West. I said, okay. So I walked back, and I talked with Red a couple of times because I worked out with him, because all of the Memphis guys worked out with Ed Parker also, so most of them knew karate techniques. So I went there and said, hi Red, how are you doing? He says, I'm fine. Just a minute, Elvis wants to talk to you. Hello? So he comes up, hello Bill. I said, hello sir, how are you doing? Because we all know his voice. And I said, how are you doing? He says, I'm fine, how are you doing? I said, what can I do for you? And he says, I want you to move back to Memphis. What? He says, I want you to move back to Memphis. And I said, why? He says, because I'm going to start a karate school. I need a place to work out. I need a place to train. Red West and I are going to go in business and start a karate school. And they're going to call it Tennessee Karate Institute. And I said, so being dumb, what would you like me to do? We want you to be the head instructor. And I said, well, you know, I'm up here right now. I have to do this. And this was like I said, this was in April that he talked to me. He says, when you get out of school? And I said, well, we get out like this towards the end of May. He says, you move down the end of May, we'll open up the school in June. I'll move you down and do all this stuff, and I'll pay you. And I says, okay. Anybody ever a school teacher? Okay, think about 1974, what school teachers made. Well, he was going to pay me that almost monthly. So I said, hard to turn that down. Because he's very, 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 very great about something like that. But anyway, so I moved back to Memphis. We opened up the karate school, and but before we went back there, I had to go over to Berlin, Germany, and they had something over there called kickboxing. And I never wanted to do it, but these guys talked me into it. So we went over to the kickboxing. I came back from the kickboxing aspect and moved down to Memphis. And started a school, started working out with Elvis and with Red West, Jerry Shelley, Sonny West.
So at this point, when you started the school up, was this the same time that Elvis talked about making the film, The New Gladiators?
No, matter of fact, we started making the film with the part of the film they did was in September of '74. Okay. We had the first World Championships in Los Angeles, September 15th, I think. It was 15th to the 24th, I can't remember the exact date. But that weekend we had the World Championships in Los Angeles. And I won the middleweight division, Jeff Smith won the heavyweight division, and a friend of ours, Jeff Smith, won the light heavyweight division. So we were all celebrating everything like that. When we came back to Memphis to celebrate, they all came down to the school, and we had a really big celebration at the school.
Right, I'm going to ask the $64,000 question here, Bill. How good was Elvis at karate?
He was very good. I mean, understand, as far as the sparring went, as far as the hardcore training went, he couldn't do it. The reason he couldn't do it is he has to be able to sing. He can't get his face all beat in. He can't get his ribs punched in. He can't get kicked hard and something, because you guys are much more important than sparring back and forth and so on. So, but we trained very hard, and I was very, very impressed. I'm serious. I'm very impressed with his technique. And we're in class, and all of a sudden, Bobby Wren, who was helping at the front Odessa at the time, which is Elvis's cousin, said that Elvis is coming down, he wants to see you. Okay, everything ready to go. And he comes in and he says, all that stuff, we were kneeling down, and it was a promotion, it was a Kempo promotion. And so Elvis promoted me to the championship and things like this, which is absolutely fantastic. Somewhere I still have the certificate. I've moved so many times, but I still keep it.
That's wonderful. What was you saying during when we were showing you? You said something about the reason why they were kicking you, because Elvis seems to be kicking you in a very tender place there.
No, you understand the movement of it. It's you stand like this, and then you, pardon my expression, but you jut your hips forward, and you close your cheeks up, your butt cheeks. Another better way to say it. But anyway, you close it, and what it is, it's a scooping type of a kick like this. So you're hitting basically with the instep in the butt. You're not really hitting the groin area, which scared me to death, by the way. But yeah, and once they explained, I said, okay, and they did it. It was nothing. It was fine.
Right, everybody stand up and do that. Can you do that? No.
I'm going to do that to everybody pretty soon. So it only hurts for a while. Then it'll go numb, so it's okay.
Do you know, Bill, I noticed there that Elvis wasn't actually doing too many moves or anything himself there. And do you know what? I don't blame him around you there, Bill. It was a phenomenal demonstration.
But later on, he did.
He did?
He did. It's not in this clip here, but he did a lot of self-defense with Red. Matter of fact, they had a wooden bamboo stick, much like it's called a bow. They stuck it in Elvis's throat, and Red West was pushing it in. And Elvis actually backed him up, bent the bow, didn't break it, but bent the bow and pushed Elvis back, or pushed Red West back.
Yeah, there is other footage. Yeah. Much more than that. We just were showing some of it.
And did some self-defense moves against him.
Yeah. You mentioned the other guys there, Red, Dave Hebler. What was your opinion of them as you got a smile on your face there?
Red and I got along great. Red and I were great friends. He was, pardon my expression, he was one tough son of a gun. I mean, we sparred one day. We were at the TKI, and we were sparring, and I have a really good sidekick, and which hits the ribs and can do some good damage. Matter of fact, not to brag, but 23 of my knockouts, or of my 23 title defenses, 13 of the knockouts was with that sidekick. So, and I'm sparring Red, and he's standing, I fake something, he brings his hands up like this, so I nail him with the sidekick. And he's going down. Understand, as he's going down, he's grabbing my leg, trying to climb up my leg to get to me. And I pull back and say, Red, I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. I mean, he was actually climbing up my leg to get to me. I went, whoa, time to quit. I can take a hint,
I guess that's why I was having him around for so long.
Oh, yeah. Red was a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Are you still in touch with him at all?
Yeah, once in a while, yeah. Again, Al Holcomb, who was the big guy in the picture, he just recently died, so. But a lot of, they're still great people, wonderful people.
Dave Hebler?
Dave is, used to be, he was living in Florida for a while. And he's, I guess he's still somewhere in Florida now. But yeah, he's another great guy. He's a phenomenal hand technician. I don't know if you ever watch any of the photos, any of the footage or not, but really, really, really quick hands. And which is Kempo karate. If you've ever seen Kempo karate, they're known for their very, very fast hand techniques. It's primarily a self-defense movement, but it's absolutely phenomenal.
Tell us, just going off the karate thing, Elvis himself, you mentioned earlier on, you said Elvis was a wonderful person when you met him. I mean, aside from Elvis the superstar, which we all know, and there's Elvis the karate guy, tell us a bit about your experience of Elvis the human being.
Oh, he could joke with the best of them. He was phenomenal at jokes. He could laugh at the best of them. Matter of fact, one day, 1973, I was still teaching for Congreve, and I fought in a tournament in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is about probably 300, 400 miles from Memphis. But I fought in the tournament, and I won the lightweight division. A real big guy won the heavyweight division, so we're sparring for the grand championship. And I come in, I kick him in the head, and I score my point. As I step down, he just goes BAM! And just nails me in my calf. And if there's any medical people, it's called a subdural hematoma. which is yeah, and it just swelled up. It was hard as a rock, and I couldn't feel my toes for about 2 months. Couldn't even walk. And I'm going, uh-oh, that takes care of that career real fast, and you know, because that's what I did. And I couldn't even move my toes. And all of a sudden, I get a call, and it's Elvis. He says, "Come out to the house. I have a present for you." I said, "Well, it's not my birthday. It's not Christmas." So, okay, so I get in the car and drive over to Elvis's, and Fester lets me in. We go up to the thing, and I walk in the house. He says, "Come on up to the bedroom." What? He says, "Come on up to the bedroom." So I climb up to the bedroom, and I said, "Yeah." He says, "Take your pants down." Nah, it's not what I'm thinking, surely. I said, "Why?" He says, then a doctor coming, big old guy walks in. I think his name was Fitzgerald or something like that. He comes in and says, "Yeah, take your pants down. It's okay, it's okay." So I take my pants down. And he says, "Where does it hurt?" And I said, "Well, I got kicked in the back of the calf, gastrocnemius." So he says, "Let me see it." He feels still hard as a rock. He says, So he says, "Lay down on the bed." I got to lay in Elvis's bed. I got to lay in Elvis's bed. Anyway, I'm on my side in Elvis's bed, and he takes a pen and feels here and puts a little mark. Moves down a little bit, puts another little mark in. By the time he was down to my ankle, there were 18 marks, 18 little dots. And he's sitting on his bag, he picks his bag and puts over a bit. Now, I am scared to death of needles. Hate needles. Would rather you punch me in the mouth than take a shot. So he pulls out this syringe. I said, what are you going to do with that? He said, "It's okay. It was about this long." And I went, "Come on, you're not really going to do it. It doesn't hurt that bad. It'll get better, trust me." "No, we're going to fix it now. Let me know when you're ready to go." So he puts it in, and it was wonderful. I mean, the needle was this long, but only went about yay deep, so and it's called xylocaine. He had a substance called xylocaine, and it's very much like Novocaine, I guess. But anyway, he stuck 18 of those little shots in my leg, all from my hip all the way down to my ankle. 15 minutes. It was as good as new, and I've not had a problem with it since. Not one problem. So, and at that time, Priscilla had already left, but Lisa Marie was there. So we all went down and had dinner. So it was kind of fun. I was just saying, "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt." But I had a wonderful meal too, and sat around and talked and had a wonderful time.
Was that in Graceland?
Graceland, yes.
It was. I was going to ask you if you actually been to Graceland itself, because Elvis has so many other homes in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. But his favorite. Well, he sold the ones in Los Angeles, and had one in Palm Springs. They sold it, but Graceland is still there.
And I believe he gave you some gifts.
Oh yeah, the TCB thing. The matter of fact, the best gift he ever gave me, he gave me when I won the World Championship in '74. He gave me a brand new Honda Cafe Racer motorcycle.
Really?
Yeah, it was a one-of-a-kind motorcycle, and I'm riding around as fast as true. I'm flying all over the place, but I pull up beside a Harley Davidson, and the Harley, and you can't even hear the Honda. Even though it's a racer, you can't even hear it. So I'm going, God, go away so I can at least go fast, So, how you like the loud noise, but it wasn't loud, it was just very, very, very fast. And the good thing was only a one-seater, so I was only could ride.
Now, Elvis gave away a lot of the TCBs and everything. Some of the people who received them no longer have them. We're not going to be judgmental on the reasons why they've sold them and everything, but...
In the United States, they're worth a lot of money.
Yeah, but have you still got yours?
I do.
You do?
I do, yep. We were talking about this last night. People that give me gifts, I don't get rid of. They give you the gift for a reason, whatever that reason may be, but I've been given many, many, many really nice things. Everything that Elvis gave me, I still have.
That's wonderful.
Everything that Elvis gave me, I still have. I was given a 911 Porsche by a friend. Still have that too. Yeah, I mean, people, I I'm just at the right place at the right time. With Elvis, you know, I mean, I was at the right place at the right time. For the World Championships, I was at the right age at the right time and was talked into it by friends. You know, life is one of those things. It just, if you take the right chance, if you make the right decision, you're just doing Jim Dandy fine. And so far, I've made good decisions.
What was the last time you saw Elvis, Bill?
The last time we were went out to his house. He called us all up and says, "Come on out to the house, we're gonna go for a ride." And I said, "Okay." So we drive out there, and he's got this brand new Pantera. Anybody know what a Pantera is? Really an Italian sports car. It's an Italian sports car with an American engine. It's got a 351 Cleveland engine in it, which is a very, very fast, powerful engine. So we're all going to go for a ride. He wanted to take out for a ride. So we're there, and we're sitting around. We're in our cars. We're going to follow him, make sure nothing happens. And all that. He gets in the car with Linda Thompson, starts the car, well, tries to start the car, and it won't start. Sits there for a minute, pumps the gas, tries to start the car, and it won't start. Tries again to start the car, and it won't start. Very calmly now, gets out of the car, walks in the house, comes out with a 45 automatic. Seriously, swear to God. Empties the rounds in it. Thing still wouldn't start. And I went, whoa, whoa. But he had 3 or 4 other cars there, so we went and got another car and we took off. So it was hilarious on board. Have you ever heard a 45 automatic? They're loud. And he emptied the clip in it. Emptied it.
So Elvis had never heard of the AA? No. Obviously not.
No, he was, he was just, you know, he wasn't even mad. I mean, he wasn't yelling and screaming or anything. He just, you know, well, I mean, let's say you just spent $50,000 because it's 1970, 75 or 76. $50,000 is a lot of money for a car, especially if it doesn't start. So I can understand it. I was with him 100%. I was like, yeah, do it again.
I'm surprised you didn't sidekick the car, Bill.
If he'd asked me to, I would have put a hand in it.
So that would be 75, 76, about the last time?
No, 76 was the last year.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
But it was not memorable like this. We just all went over there and talked to him. And 76 is when the problem started happening.
So, obviously the following year, Elvis passed away. Where were you when you heard the news, Bill?
I was with my wife at the time. We were in Muskogee, Oklahoma. We just taken a vacation until I come back and start teaching at the university and also at the TKI. And turned the radio on. We're driving through Muskogee, through Oklahoma, and all of a sudden there was an Elvis song playing, you know. And being around, and I apologize for this, being around you know, you've heard enough Elvis songs after a while, right? So you turn the channel, and there's another Elvis song on. And I turned to Susie and I go, uh-oh. Turn another channel, there's another Elvis song on. No. Turn the other channel, there's another Elvis song on. So I go, oh no. So I leave it on that station, and pretty soon they say Elvis Presley died this morning. So I stop over, this is before cell phones. So I stop at a gas station, I call Graceland. I said, what happened? And I forget who it was, probably Charlie Hodge. Talking to me, and he says, you don't want to come back. I said, what? What happened? Then he said, died. I went, whoa. So they said, just best thing you can do now is just stay gone. So I got the car and just sat there.
Was it an enormous shock to you, Bill?
Well, yeah, you know, at that time he had blossomed up a little bit. But now, let me get something straight right off the bat. Elvis was not fat. A lot of people said he was grotesque, he was this, he was obese. Elvis had a problem called a twisted colon. Okay, which means the food comes in, it digests, it just doesn't leave. Because the colon's twisted, it's stuck. And he was diagnosed with that. Matter of fact, the last time I saw it was we went up to the hospital just before the operation. We were supposed to have, just before they had the operation to see how he was doing. and he'd already been scheduled for the operation to take out the twisted colon part. But he died before that happened. But he wasn't fat, he just had a medical problem called a twisted colon. The food comes in, digests, but it doesn't leave. So in other words, if it comes in, it digests, it goes into the colon, the large intestine, after it digests in the small intestine, you're still hungry afterwards. So he still ate, it just wouldn't come out.
And that caused
the bloating, you might say.
Well, just to bring it back to happier times, I mean, Bill, is there any memories that were left out or anything you'd like to say without me having to ask the questions?
The entire time we would have a ball. He'd call up and he says, I want to go to the movie. So what he'd do is he'd call the Memphis Theater downtown. And because at that time I lived out close to him, but lived right off of Winchester. So we'd drive over the house and we'd all get in the cars. Now it's funny, anybody ever watch how he would travel? There'd be 3 cars. Elvis was in the middle, one behind him, one in front of him, one to the side of him. And he would be on the inside lane. The reason for that is, you'd be surprised how many people would try to run into him just to meet him. I'm serious. They would try to run into him to meet him. So there'd be a car behind him, so they couldn't get to him. In front of him, they couldn't get to him, and to the side. And the other part was the curb, so.
Yes, I got the feeling that there's a whole string of memories you could tell us.
Yeah, we had a ball. We'd go to the Memphis Theater, we'd watch movies, first-run movies. He never watched his own. I don't think he'd ever seen his own films. I hate to watch myself too, because you're very critical. I did that wrong. Oh, look at that. I could have turned that foot. Oh, I can't. So, but he never watched his own films, and we'd go to first-run films, sit there, and eat popcorn and drink Cokes and watch the film. About 3 o'clock in the morning, go home.
I've just got a question for the audience here. Is there anybody here who actually studies karate and does it themselves?
Good. It's fun kicking people, huh?
Okay. Because I saw all that on the footage there earlier on. I only saw that footage myself a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, well, that was great, Bill doing that, but I guess he couldn't do anything like that now, you see.
No. Nope.
But I've been told that I'm very wrong to think that. Now, Bill, what are you going to do? Being serious, we're going to ask you if you do a demonstration for us here this afternoon. But until then, can we ask you to leave us with one memory? How should we remember Elvis the person, Bill, in your
He had a great time. He was a wonderful person. He joked around with the best of them. He could laugh with the best of them. And when if you're seeing some of the footage, we were talking there and some of the things that was going on, we were laughing back and forth. What you saw was the good part. You'd be surprised how many times I fell over, doing some of those kicking techniques and some of the things we were laughing and joking. We spent about 4 hours there, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we had a ball.
So
it was just fun.
The good times,
yeah.
The happy times. That's the way to remember it. Okay, Bill, we're going to ask you a little bit give us a bit of a show of what you can do.
Done.
And for this part, I'm not going to join you. So,
why?
Well,
now we talked earlier. Last night we talked, and you said we were going to have a death match.
Did I say that?
You said a death match.
No, I said, have you got a match?
And I said, no, we'll make it no death. Something like that.
So, Bill, I'm going to, first of all, before Bill does his demonstration, for this part of the show, for the interview, let's put your hands together for a great guy here, Bill Wallace. Thank you, Bill.
From here, basically karate was always defined as a self-defense. He throws a punch at me, and I defend, do all kinds of stuff to hit him, knock him out, and save myself, right? But then we also made it a sport.
So he'll take his fighting stance, and to me, speed is very important. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to touch right there, and your camera's going to miss it. Because, no, it's, because, seriously, just watch, you ready? Yeah, now, you can call it a fake if you want to, but this thing's going to be fast. And Paul's going to try, you can put your hands up, Paul's going to try to block this thing. And if any of you want to try it, I'll be glad to work with you. Okay, you ready? Now, just kind of watch. You're right, and it's going to be quick. Ready? And again, it's a speed of impact, because it's not for big, strong guys. They don't need karate. They don't need self-defense. Because who's going to pick on them? It's for us little guys. I'm 5'9", 165 pounds. I still, even when I retired from fighting in 1980, I was still 165 pounds. So I need to use my speed. Now, just watch what happens when he tries to block this punch. It's called a back fist. And the Kempo people were absolutely fantastic this day. Elvis had a very good one, because he'd be here like this. You've all seen the stances that Elvis takes, right? And from this way, that's the movement. And it's very, very quick. So he's going to block this thing again. Ready? Now, what did he do to block it? Watch what he does to block this thing. Now, remember me telling you about the knockouts that I had? If you look right there, those are called ribs. And they bend real good. And if they bend good enough, it takes all the wind out of those ribs, out of the lung. So watch. Now we're going to do it again, and I go. So that's the move right there. Now I can come on this side. We'll be here so you can see the kick. I like to also, I use my leg much like you would use your hand. You come here and you go, hey, what's this? And you go like this, right? So you go here, whatever it is. So he's right there, and I'll throw the kick to the tummy. Throw the kick to the tummy. Throw the kick to the tummy. Here. Get him to block it. Get him to block it. Get him to block it. From this position. Now he goes the other way, and you take it the other way. So from here, you just right here, throwing the kick in. You got the back fist from here. Okay. Again, it's also like self-defense. I've always fought sideways. If you watch when I did the demonstration, I did everything left-legged. So if I'm here, if I'm standing with you, what do you see to hit? Only the side. To do anything else, you have to come around. To throw the punch to the head, I just lean out of the way. And the term is superfoot. Not super feet, superfoot. Well, I only have one leg. So when he punches, I just lean back, take the weight off the front leg. There's the side kick. So, and also what happens is, you can fake things. Because he blocks this kick. See, as I bring it up, look what he just did. So now I can fake it, throw the kick there. I can fake it, throw the kick there. I can fake it, throw the kick there. So what happens is, he blocks again, there's the side kick coming back in. So, and all the time that this is happening, what's he not doing to me? He's not hitting me back. So, from here, it'd be very simply, jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross. Then you do an uppercut, hook, come back. So what happens, you're making this movement to where it's nice and fluid. And all punching, in the Kempo system especially, it's hips and shoulders, because it's a self-defense, right? So I can't go, "Ay-ya!" Uh-oh, he didn't die. I didn't hurt him. Whose turn is it if it doesn't hurt him? It's his turn. I don't want it to be his turn. So what happens is, nice and strong. Watch the hips. Boom, boom. And because I fight sideways, the jab and the hook are my favorite combinations. He's got his hands up like we're boxing. In and out real fast. So, he's English. Oh, I'm sorry. In this position here, here. And in the kickboxing aspect of it, what just happened. Watch what he has to do. There's the kick. If he drops it with his hands, there's the side kick in the butt. Again, coming back. It's awfully difficult to fight when you can't breathe. Think about this. Stare, drop it, go, stare there, Jansen. For him to get out of the way of a punch, all he's got to do is move the head. With the body. Still there. To get out of the way of the punch, body's still there. To get out of the way of the punch, body's still there. So if I get him to think about the head, with his hands up, with his hands up. So what happens? Boom. See what happens? Because if he's got his hands here, if you're right there, I'm going to hit you. If you're right there, put your hands up towards you. And I go boom. And I throw the jab, and I throw the jab, and then it boom, right there's the kick. So you go, So always an opening someplace. All I have to do is find it.
I quit.
Not together, not the same one, no. Just one on each hand.
That's all right. I walk on the bottoms. Why shouldn't you walk on the tops? Get over here. How come she's taller? Quit laughing. So K-U-R, K-E-R, K-E-R.
And I think on behalf of Andrew, I'd like to thank you all for coming along to the event today. And can I just say, although he hates me to do this, on these events that we do, and we've done over the years, we see a lot of familiar faces, people we haven't seen for a long while. Nice to see everybody as well. You know, to put these events together, it takes a lot of hard work and hard take and everything else. And whilst he gets me to come up here and do the things on the microphone, he does all the real hard work behind the scenes. Could you put your hands together for Mr. Andrew Hearn over there, the man who runs the section office in the magazine. Thank you, Andrew. And the winner is number 395. Well done. Do you want to?
He said, here comes the big boss. Let's get it on. We took a bow and made a stand. Started swaying with the hand. Sudden motion made me skip. Now we're in